everybody. Hello, hello, and welcome as we do another installment of our story about the Warsaw Uprising. You might ask yourself, why am I in this particular place? Because it was one of the places taken, or the building that was here, was one of the places taken on the first day of the uprising. It was a prime target, along with targets across the old town and the center of Warsaw. This was the place, the Umschlagplatz, the place of departure for people, for Jewish people, to the extermination camps. This is right next to what was the Jewish ghetto. From here it ran to the Gdansk station. The Poles, the AK, assembled at the Gdansk station, not too far from here, and marched over here, took on the SS, who were in charge, of course, of the extermination of Jewish people and anybody else, Poles, anyone else they happened to think they needed to murder at this time. Of course, that doesn't include summary executions on the street. Now, this here says, along this path of suffering death, over 300,000 Jews were driven from the Warsaw ghetto to the gas chambers of the Nazi extermination camps. The Warsaw ghetto, the Jewish ghetto uprising, took place in May of 1943. So it's a full 15 months, or 14 months, 15, I suppose, before the Warsaw uprising in general, which really was the final attempt to reestablish Poland. You know, it had been occupied by the Nazis for several years, and now you had the Russians sitting on the other side of the Vistula and waiting for the Germans to destroy the city, to defeat the home army, so the Russians wouldn't have to, and to destroy the city, and to make it easy for the Russians to come in. It's a very complicated story, but we'll get to that in subsequent editions. Bear with us. Now, why is this important? Because the home army wanted to come here and take over this symbol of SS power and domination, and occupy it and kill as many of the SS as they could, which is what they did. They came here, fought off the SS, killed them, ran them off, and freed a handful, 50 or so Jews who were being held here and hadn't been transported yet, because this is the end of the last days of the German occupation. It's another great question. Why did the Germans fight so hard when they knew the war was over for them? It's a question that bears long and thoughtful examination, but there is some still perhaps existing competition with the Russians, and it perhaps relates back to, it must relate back to centuries of quarrels between Russians, Poles, and various incarnations of Germanic tribes, Germanic nations. At any rate, the Poles, to their great credit, did win this particular, take this place, win this battle, shut this place down effectively for the duration of the war. It was never really used again. And not only did they do that, but the youngsters, I call them youngsters because a lot of these people were teenagers. They, in fact, one of the first casualties of the war was an ex-prime minister's son, if I'm correct, and that president or prime minister's son, who was 15, apparently. Now, they then managed to gain a lot of weapons, some food, and ammunition, and SS uniforms, which they immediately put on. They wanted uniforms. Imagine, you're these young kids, you've just killed a bunch of SS troops, you've liberated this most hideous symbol of Nazi domination, and you see those nice uniforms, you put them on, but you wear an armband that's red and white, and you take one of those German hats and you attach an eagle emblem to it. and that's to differentiate yourself from being a spy caught in a German uniform. They weren't interested in that. They just wanted some uniforms to wear. Okay. There we are. That's all we have from Umschlag. There we are. That's all we have from Umschlagplatz, and we'll see you next episode.